Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Looks Like We Made It. I'm Issy Howell and I'm joined by Managing Director and Creative Industry Expert. Stop that. Okay. All right. Okay. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Looks Like We Made It. I'm Issy Howell and I'm joined by Managing Director and Creative Industry Expert Chris to talk all things video marketing. We are the father and daughter who run the video production company Howell Film, and we help everyone achieve amazing results with the power of video across all platforms and media, including TV, in a professional, creative and engaging way. Couple this with a clear video marketing strategy that puts target audiences first, your campaign is guaranteed to deliver. We're always up for candidly conversing about creativity. On this episode, we are answering the question, how do I get into the industry? So without further ado, let's get started. And of course, never miss an episode every Tuesday by giving us a follow or subscribe, as well as finding Howell Film on Instagram and LinkedIn. Let's go.
Hello.
I'm almost there. I've almost got it perfect.
Say, you need to take a breath. Take a breath.
Yes, I'm getting there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. So the industry is massive.
Yeah.
The creative industry is huge, and I'm a big supporter of the UK creative industry.
Totally.
But it's big, and
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds and thousands and lots of people work in it, and there's loads and loads of different jobs. So if your question is, how do I get into doing creative stuff in the creative industry? That's one thing. If it's kind of like, how do I get into the creative industry? Put my teeth in again. How do I get into the creative industry because I'd like to work in that industry, but doing a job that I do outside of that industry, that's a slightly different thing. What I mean is, you know, there are accountants and
who are artists,
and there's all sorts of people in the creative industry who aren't necessarily creative. But so let's just for the basis of this podcast, let's talk about creative people or people that want to work in the actual production of creative stuff,
who make money from it or want to make money from it.
Yeah, it's your job. So you know, working in the film industry, working in the music industry, working in the world of art and design, etc., etc.
Well, my question to you, based off of that, because it's about getting into the industry and then wanting to make a living out of it, and that's sort of the road that we're talking about.
You know, at this point, when this is the point, I say, well, train to become a plumbing and heating engineer.
Yeah, don't do it. No, I'm joking.
Don't do it.
We're here for a reason. I think my question to you is, because the creative industry as a whole is a massive industry, as you've said, and there are a lot of pockets within that creative industry. So we could be in the same industry as someone who's a designer, who's a musician, who's that, but we're in the film industry. So there's almost lots of sub-industries within that big overarching umbrella. What's your opinion on people who, I know we are solely film, but obviously we have different skills in different industries in the creative world. Like, you're a designer, I can copyright, I can, you can draw. We have lots of other creative skills.
I can draw.
You can draw. I can
draw.
You're a very good drawer. I'm terrible. I didn't get that gene from you.
But then you see, that's the point.
That's my question.
All right, go on, finish your question.
Which is, do you think people should stick to one little industry, or should they offer all of their creative skills when they're going out to try and get into it?
I don't know. I thought the question was, how do you get into it? Before you start offering everything, you need to get in there.
Yeah, but what I mean is that if you're the kind of person who, say you are a designer, but you also are trained as an editor, you might know how Premiere Pro works, you might be an editor, you might do this, you might do that. And you get those marketing companies that offer like 15 different things.
A full service agency.
A one-man band, a full thing, a whole thing. But do you think you should just say, I'm an editor or I'm a designer, rather than saying, I do all of this?
To get in, on balance, to get in somewhere, on balance, I would say you're probably best to focus on one type of thing.
Yeah.
So you might say, I don't know, I'm a camera ops assistant, and that might be anything from carrying gear around, setting up tripods, dealing with all the grip, dealing with all the, having, being a runner, laying cables, all that sort of stuff would probably fall under that kind of runner / camera ops assistant, and you'd help you'd help setting up the cameras, you help with lenses, lens choices, lighting. That sort of thing is quite wide, Because if you said, I want to get into the film industry and I want to be the person that lays cables with gaffer tape at events, that's fairly narrow.
It's niche, that
it's
is.
fairly niche. So you've got to do a lot. You've got to do a lot of stuff. We're popular, aren't we? But I think that a type, definitely going for it to being, I am a type of person. And then at that point, so you can go and really, I suppose it boils down to vision, sound, setup, lighting, pre-production, post-production,
absolutely,
actual production.
But sticking within one sort of thing.
Within one.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing. Because I think that when you are in the creative industry and you have a multitude of different skills that you can sell, in particular, so it's about selling those skills and selling your ability to deliver them. Is that yes, you should have one sole core skill in an industry, like you said, a broader one, so you're a video editor or you're a filmmaker or something, and then almost use those extra skills not as like an upsell, but as a way to kind of provide more value to the client you're working with. So for example, when we're working on a project, the benefit of you being a graphic designer comes in massively handy in some projects, and you've ended up almost like redesigning people's logos in the middle of a project but because you have those skills available to you that just bring up that quality of the overall project you're working on. So you don't necessarily have to go out there going, I do this, and this, but rather say, I do this, but because I do this, I can give you all this extra stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose as well that there's people's perception of what it's like to work in, we're saying the creative industry, but let's, for argument's sake, for this podcast, let's just say in the film and video production world, instantly people say, oh, that's cool, oh, that's exciting. But in reality, and I'm not being flippant about this, because we're very privileged. Well, frankly, in this day and age, we're privileged to have a paying career that you enjoy regardless. But my point is that there are some exciting moments, and there are some interesting projects, and we love all our clients, and we still get a buzz from producing the work. But ultimately, a great deal of what we do is planning, administration, paperwork. A lot of what we do. I mean, weirdly, like as a graphic designer, I spent many years working on on fairly large kind of branding projects, working for some fairly big clients. But weirdly, even when you're doing really kind of core, creative, blank sheet of paper, gosh, I'm going to pour my heart and soul into this. The reality is, a lot of what we do in design terms is very mathematical. There's a lot of, there is a lot of kind of technical. There's a lot of technical elements to being creative. Unless you're at the very kind of, if you're, obviously if you're an artist and you're there with the paints and you're doing all that sort of stuff. But even that, you've still got to think about composition, layout. It's an odd paradox with being a creative person, but both in terms of you still have to apply a lot of processes, I suppose is the word I'm looking for. So if you are, like I say, even if you are painting a picture, there's a process you have to go through to make the thing come alive, to make it dry, to be able to move it around, to be able to stick it on the wall, all that sort of stuff. So I suppose the actual thinking about the actual blank sheet of paper and thinking about the sort of what you're going to do and I suppose the very sort of essence of creativity, that's a very tiny part of a very full time world of working in the creative industry. What I would say though is that it's that ability to be able to go, I can see what you're saying. However, have you thought about this? What about that? And be able to get in a room and just say, well, actually, these are my ideas based on X, Y, and Z that no one else in the room would have thought about. And they go, oh, you're creative. I'd never come up with that in a million years. And I think that's what a creative person can bring to the table. And the way you see things, the way that as a video editor. Or as a soundscape manager, or whatever it is you do in the creative industry, it's that ability to go, yeah, I could do it that way, but actually, I'm gonna put that type up on a 90-degree angle, or I'm going to do something a bit flashy here, or I'm going to introduce
as well.
experiment. And
Yeah.
and I suppose it's being confident enough to be able to push the boundaries a little bit. And that is also a great privilege when you work in the creative industry, because there's an expectation that you can push the boundaries and you can say, actually, I'm going to try this, try that, and try the other. Whereas if you don't work in the creative industry and you do that, you're perceived as someone who's messing around a bit. Like if an accountant said, I'm going to try my spreadsheet on a 90-degree angle with all the numbers upside down, it's like kind of like, well, that's not the way it's done. Whereas if you're a designer and you go, well, actually, I'm looking at that now, I might try it on its side with a something whizzing in from the left-hand side, then suddenly, hey, you're pushing the boundaries. So, it does give you, you genuinely have a creative license that you can flash and
people and
use
clients. And when you end up working in the industry, it's almost like when you ask a magician for a magic trick, it's like, go on then, wow me. Yeah, and you have to sometimes you do have to think on your feet. But so here's a question then. So let's say Bob Smith decides one morning, he wakes up and he goes, right, I am going to be in the film industry. Okay. I'm going to be that's it. That's my job. That's what I want to do. He has no experience. He has no idea of how he's going to do it. What would you say to Bob Smith? When does he go out and start selling himself in that industry?
If I was Bob Smith, the first thing I'd do is just learn and start with YouTube and just kind of watch stuff and speak to people, because the other great thing about people in our industry is they are passionate people. I will engage people if as I am well known for talking quite a bit. People will give you the time, and we get it. We do get quite a few people from different backgrounds saying, I want to learn stuff. I want to do this. I want to do that. Can you give me some advice?
Do a lot of work experience and stuff like that.
Work experience, all that sort of stuff. And I'm all up for that. I think it's a great idea. For no other reason than I think it's important that people see behind the scenes, metaphorically and in reality, because people, like I say, people have a perception of what they think it's like, because they've that only a very tiny number of people are on set, as an example. Only a very tiny number of people are behind a camera, are actually doing anything. Most of it is still admin, nuts and bolts.
It's before and after,
it's
really.
Before and after, and that's the that's the reality of it. And I would say, so Bob, bless him, he wakes up in the morning and he wants to work in the film industry. I think he's got to understand where he wants to work in the film industry, why he wants to work in the film industry, and also, why he doesn't become a plumbing and heating engineer. He needs to understand what it is that he can offer.
Yeah.
And how he's going to sort of get in there.
Yeah.
I don't know how Bob is. I guess, that's a weird name, Bob Smith. But
off the top of my head.
Sorry, any Bob Smiths listening. But what I'm saying is that if he is youngish and still in the the world of education and still hasn't made lots of bad decisions in his life, then he can look at sort of educating himself into the industry.
Yeah. If
he's a bit older, or that's not the route for him, then he needs to be a bit ballsy, get on the phone, get on the email, and just talk to some people and say, you know what, can I just come along and have a look what you do?
Well, I think that's the thing. It's like, I think that with anyone that, because I'm kind of like the sort of the Pied Piper of university students, all love to talk to me and get my insight and find out about it, because I'm still in my 20s. I'm still quite young, one would argue, and I've just been through that whole process of going to university, and sort of I'm still relatively young in the industry. So I get asked a lot of like, how did you get there? How did you get to where you are now? And that sounds very inspirational of me to say, but it's not very far.
How did you get to where you are now?
But insofar as I always say, because there's a pressure, I think, on particularly young people when they want to get into the industry, is to know everything all the time and be almost like have 40 years experience and only be 20 years old. And sometimes there is a process of, the first thing I think you should do is do your research, so much research on who else in the area that you're operating in does what you want to do, how long have they been doing it for, really kind of even just ask to meet people and say, look, how did you do it, what did you do, what did you learn, where did you go to learn it, and really kind of ask the people around you, do research on how saturated that industry is where you are. I mean, London is one of those places that's just full of creatives, like absolutely full to the rafters, and you think, right, okay, if I'm wanting to go into that space, how do I stand out? And I think a big part of that is understanding your niche within what you offer. So if you are a photographer, you might want to apply a particular style that you don't see other people doing. If you're a filmmaker, you might want to look at maybe investing in certain kit that might make you stand out, or it doesn't have to be obviously the most expensive stuff, but it's more about how you find that niche, or even a skill on set that other people might not, that people like me in production would go, God, yeah, you're essential on a shoot, or I could really use you, is finding that thing that makes you just that little bit different to everyone else.
If you're a frontline creative, i.e. you're a filmmaker or a photographer or a graphic designer or a sound producer or whatever, the number one thing is do it.
Yeah,
get out there
absolutely.
and do it. We get this all the time where people say, I'm a filmmaker, can I get involved? And I say, oh, great, let's show me what you've done. Oh, I haven't done any.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, with respect, you're not, make it. Get a phone, get a cheap camera, borrow something, beg something, get out there and do it. Because actually, you literally, because everybody talks about in our industry experience. It is, but it's not just about experience of working for an organization or working, doing it commercially or whatever. You need to be doing it. If you're a camera op or whatever you are, you need to be doing it. You need to be doing it with your mates. You need to be doing music videos. You need to be filming your mates on skateboards and all that sort of stuff. Because all those skills you learn about shots, composition, timing, sound, all these things about shooting in different times of the day. These are the things that are important. And while I'm on a roll,
yes,
you've got to get an alarm clock. Get your phone and your alarm clock sorted out. This is not because we are working in an industry that's kind of like, ooh, it's all about ideas, it's creative, which is great. But get yourself a sodding alarm clock. This is bloody hard graft, and we, what it's like. We are often in the company van or in our car. We're 5 in the morning. People get a shock when you go, oh, we're doing this cool thing, and we're starting at 4:15.
Yeah, your call time
we're
is
starting
4
at 4:15 on a wet Wednesday in February.
Yeah.
This is the reality. Yeah. Or you find yourself on a train staring at your own face in the window, at 1 a.m, thinking, oh God, I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
It's that, and I don't mean that as a cliche, but it's true. This is one of the weirdest industries that isn't 9 to 5. If you want to shoot a sunrise, well, there's a clue in the name.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be out of bed before the sun rises.
And I think that's the thing. It's like it is an industry that is demanding, and it's
relentless.
It's relentless, but it's also something that it's what I've heard it in a TV show where they said you don't have to like it, but you have to love it, and you don't have to like getting up at 4 a.m. You don't have to like doing it.
I'm not talking about liking it.
But you have to, at the end of the day, go, God, I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. And there is a real difference between, I know the word love gets thrown around a lot, but there is a real difference between liking something and genuinely it is what you love. It is what you live for, basically. Because the best, I put it out there, the best filmmakers that we've ever worked with are the ones who will finish a job with us and it's a paying job and they'll have a rate for it, but then they'll say to us, oh yeah, well, I'll be like, well, what you doing after this shoot? Are you going to go put your feet up for the weekend? And they'll go, no, I'm off to shoot a music video with my friends for free. And you think, right, well, that's someone who loves it. Absolutely. And I'm not obviously advocating working for free, but what I mean is it's people who, even if they're doing it as a hobby or as a job, it gives them the same thrill, and they do it just for that.
Well, yeah, you're right. That's 100%. Well, I'm looking at my spreadsheet. Not that creative, but look at my spreadsheet on my screen as I speak.
Is it at a 90-degree angle?
It's not at a 90-degree angle. It's actually very boring looking. But I'm looking at a spreadsheet on our screen that we've just booked in our project number 1,609.
Woohoo!
Okay.
Wow.
So, but my point I'm going to make here is I am super excited by that. I get a thrill out of that. And I can't wait to get that job underway and get going on it. And I'm also really excited to want to know what job number 1,610 is. Mm-hmm. I think the day in this industry it does not give you a buzz is the day you should not be in it. When it doesn't matter what you do, when I see one of our adverts come on national TV, I still jump up and run around the room. And
absolutely.
when I see something we've done, we're very lucky that some of our work is in some prestigious museums around the world. And I still go and watch my own films in museums.
You watch other people watching it.
We watch other people watching our own films, and it gives you a massive, massive buzz.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what it is when your business cards arrive in the post and they've been printed, and when you've say you've designed something or you've put something online or you get some great feedback online. The moment that doesn't give you a buzz, the moment you don't go yes, and particularly the moment you go, I did that, it was real. I really liked it, but I want to do something else now that's better than that. The moment you stop doing that is the moment you shouldn't be in this industry.
Totally.
And I don't buy into the fact that it's semi-vocational and you should work for nothing and all that kind of stuff, because you shouldn't begrudge anybody earning a living. However, you can't work in this as a creative producer if you don't love it, because they'll see through you. If you're just churning out stuff, they'll see through you. Mm-hmm. You'll be out of the industry anyway, because your audience, because of my the line I'm known for, apart from it depends, is people have a sixth sense for quality, and they don't know why. They don't know why it looks good. They don't know why it's cool. They're not technical. They don't question it. They don't question it, but they know it's bloody good. Yeah. And I think that sixth sense for quality is the cornerstone of the creative industry.
Totally.
And the moment you haven't got that, the moment you don't feel that, the moment you're not excited by that, you're dead inside and you should go and do something else.
That's the spirit, I think, and that's true. I think that it's one of those industries where you have to be incredibly self-motivated. So if you are the kind of person who needs someone else to drag them through things, then it's not for you. You have to want to get up and work for yourself. You have to like yourself. You have to like what you do. You have to be passionate about what you do, and to not be apologetic as well. I think if you are confident in the fact you show up every time, and showing up is the key. Show up when you're tired, show up when you're cold, show up when you don't want to be there. You just got to show up.
Reputation-based industry.
But not only that, but also if you don't know something, don't be apologetic about it. If I'm on a shoot with you and you come up to me and say, Izzy, I have no idea how this bit of tech works. Obviously, if you're a filmmaker and it's a camera, that'd be a problem. But if you're someone you might be a
filmmaker with a camera you've never used before.
Yeah, but if you just say, look, I don't know how this works. Can you show me? Or how can I make this better? Or what? It's always wanting to learn. And the people who we've worked with who literally will still take on anytime, will be there for them anytime they want us, is because they are up for learning. And you can see that every time we work with them, they've improved that a little bit more, or they've gone off and done something, and you can and that is what it's all about, is just wanting to learn everything. And even now I've been in the industry for 5 years, you've been in it for 500, and in that in that time we're still learning. If we haven't learned everything,
you don't know. Again, I'm Mr. Walking Cliche here, but you
can never know everything.
You can never know everything. And what a terrible state of affairs if you knew everything. I love the fact that you got a new challenge. I want to try stuff. Of course you do. Yeah. I agree with you there. You've got to ask, and But as I say, I'm getting back to alarm clocks. It's literally this is, and I've just mentioned this, but I'll mention it again. This is a reputation-based industry. Yeah. You won't be late many times before you're out on your ear, because it's not an easy place to be, and where you have to be is where you're meant to be. Yeah, and that is really, really important.
And there's I think because it is an industry where everyone is almost, I know a lot of people run their own businesses and stuff, but it's very self-motivated as a creative industry. I think when you are working with other people or their expectations of you, both financial and creatively and lots of other things, you have to see it through, because if you don't, then it's just like, unless there's a genuine excuse, like a real genuine excuse, like a pandemic or something. Other than that, I think you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just get out there and just learn stuff.
And then just to wrap this up, and the final paradox is that creative people shouldn't be allowed to run businesses. And
what do you mean?
I know, and so that's the kind of weird paradox we're faced here. That you are, and I don't mean that literally. I'm just saying that. I
was going to say we run this business very well.
I'm just saying that you can't kind of like sketch your way out of the realities of running a business. Is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, the tax man does like a nice sketch, though.
Well, no, not in my experience. Not at all. He does not.
Not at all. Okay, but so final question, last question. Nothing for Pedant's Corner.
Pedant's Corner. No, I'd say maybe we should just knock.
I know you're not pedantic at all.
I used to be very pedantic about everything, and now maybe I've got it more. Maybe I've got everything out of.
You're like the invisible boy in Mystery Men. You're only pedantic when no one's watching.
I am. Yeah.
So my last question for you, it's not really silly, but give me, in a very, very, very short way, break it down in a few sentences. How did you end up here? As in the industry, how did you get here?
Well, I came into the industry in a completely non-conventional route, and I won't be flippant about my background. I'm from a solid working class background, where should we say, in the 1970s.
Yes.
In the 1970s, there weren't many lads from where I'm from that became graphic designers. The general choice was kind of down the pit in the steelworks, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And this is not some kind of like premise for some film about some
Billy Elliot.
It's not Billy Elliot. It's not Billy Elliot, and I can't dance. What I could do is draw and paint and be artistic and a little bit of gift of the gab and that kind of stuff. And really, I started off in 1989 making borders for adverts in newspapers with black tape.
That's the way to do it.
And it kind of went from there. But at the end of the day, I got in, I've stayed in, I've stuck around.
You're still here.
I've ducked and dived and I'm still here. Don't dismiss anything. You don't know everything. Keep learning, as we've discussed. And learn from those that do it.
Yeah, well, that's what you could say that's why I'm here, is because I watched you do all of that, and then that's why I ended up here. And I think that because but it's a multi-billion. But like the creative industry in the UK is a multi-billion pound concern, and I am biased, but it's the best in the world. The UK is the centre of creativity in the world, and I firmly believe that. Absolutely.
But I also believe that you depending on your background, depending on where you're from, how you look, even your gender or whatever, I don't want to get into that, but whatever, it's hard, but it's more hard for some than others.
Yeah, totally.
But you can do it. You can get yourself
absolutely
front and centre.
You can just hopping on YouTube. That's how I ended up learning how to edit, was just watching other people do it and going from there. And
and as we've discussed at length, I mean, there's sorry, I jumped in there, didn't I? I just
jump in all you like.
Yeah, I just jumped in. What I would say is there's always a 9-year-old in Philadelphia who'll teach you how to do anything you want to see. Teach you all techniques in all programs, and you go, oh, okay.
Absolutely. Someone said to me, "Can you edit this? When I was 19, can you come and edit a rugby TV show?" And I said yes, and I didn't know how to do it, but I watched other people do it and I learnt it, and then I was editing rugby TV shows. And then after that, it was all a slippery slope from there. No, I'm joking. It was a good ride from there. So yeah, sing us out.
Right. Okay, so that's it then for today. Of course, if you've enjoyed us so much, feel free to give us a rating and let us know what you think. If you have a question for us to answer, or you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, please go to the website www.howellfilm.co.uk and drop us a line via our contact form there. There's still plenty to talk about in the world of video marketing and the creative industry beyond that. So finally, once again, we're Chris and Issy from Howell Film, and we help everyone achieve amazing results with the power of video across all platforms and media, including TV, in a professional, creative and engaging fashion. Couple this with a clear video marketing strategy that puts target audiences first. Your campaign is guaranteed to deliver. Of course, never ever miss an episode every Tuesday by giving us a follow or subscribe, as well as finding Howell Film on Instagram and LinkedIn. That's us. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye.